And yo, the Sports Back Bros podcast is on. This is Thursday, and we're deep up to our necks in NBA playoff basketball, which seems to be delivering right now. Two teams getting a little closer to that championship aspiration. The latest two teams, the Minnesota Timberwolves, took care of their business. And then the young, the Minnesota Timberwolves, of course. And then you had, here we go, forgetting right now.
Pacers.
And we had the Pacers, the Indiana Pacers, probably the ones that were least expected to win it all or get a chance to win it all. They just happened to get hot at the right time. Tyrese Haliburton, typically just a field general, typically just running the court. This time he scores and shows he can do both. What's up?
What's happening? Yeah, something that's got me scratching my head. Everybody's saying Timberwolves, not everybody, but on the morning shows and whatnot, they're saying the Timberwolves now are the favorites to win it all because they beat a Stephless Warriors team. I mean, all they did was handle business. They didn't do anything special. And Big Perk tweeted a list of all these players and has eliminated, and he had Steph on the list. Come on, man. He did not eliminate
Well,
Steph.
they did win a game when Steph was there, right? I mean,
no,
it was
the only game the Warriors won, Steph played in and got hurt in that game.
Okay. I thought the game that they did beat them when he played in one of those games, I thought.
No, he got hurt in game one.
Okay, he got hurt in game one. Yeah,
I'm just saying, they very well may be title contenders, but I can't say based off of beating a Warriors team without Steph. I'm surprised OKC. I thought Denver, even though I don't have a lot of faith in Denver, I thought Denver would beat them. But OKC, like we talked about the other day, they execute better down the stretch. And that's a bit surprising considering the disparity in championship experience.
Yeah, you got to get it somewhere. Yeah, they hadn't gotten to the championship, but they've been to the playoffs before. They've gone pretty deep in the playoffs before. Like I was saying before, you need to get that experience somewhere. All of these teams that ultimately become champions, whether it's fast or slow, they go through the trials and tribulations before they finally get there. We talk about MJ, what he had to go through against Detroit to make him a 6-time champion, and he couldn't get there without that. So you got to start somewhere with getting the experience, and it seems like OKC is on the fast track with getting the experience to go. Looks like if it's going to be a representative from the West, then the likely team that's going to do it. Minnesota also getting their experience along the way, but because of matchups, I think OKC beats Minnesota when those two do meet, if OKC closes it out.
Yeah, I fully expect OKC to beat them. It may be a grind out, drag out type battle series, but I feel OKC is the better team.
Yeah, and they've been proving it all year. I know Cleveland started off early, blitzing everyone and kind of holding serve. They had a little bit of a slump. It was a very little slump. At no time did you think that Cleveland was just a fraudulent team. It was injuries and not just the ability of the team playing as a team that led them to where they are now out of the playoffs. Injuries. And even when players are trying to come back from injuries, they're still not 100%. This late in the season, no one's 100% anyway, so there aren't any real excuses. And as you were just saying, when it comes down to Steph Curry being out and a list with Anthony Edwards taking down all of these players and key players on those teams, like he has a hit list of just top name players that he had beaten, even though Steph Curry was there for just one game. I don't know. These young players are now really stepping up when they need to step up. And it seems to be him. It seems to be Tyrese Haliburton. Jalen Brunson isn't a young player. But, you're seeing other young players come up and kind of doing their thing and trying to get, make their name in the playoffs. That's where you make your championship experience or even just your legacy in the playoffs. And now Ant's there. Now all the talking he's been doing for years seems like it's trying to come into fruition. He's doing his part, no doubt. Julius Randle, though, hey, he's like the Robin and sometimes Batman.
Yeah, I was going to mention that. Julius Randle has been balling.
Yeah.
DiVincenzo's been balling. Rudy Gobert's been balling, but he's had 2 series back-to-back where he hasn't had to deal with a big man. The Lakers don't have a big man. The T-Wolves, he plays for the T-Wolves. The Warriors don't have a big man. They come in with Trace Jackson Davis. He's like 6'9", Is that a big man? And if it's not him, then Draymond's guarding him, and he can just reach over the top and get rebounds. You know, Gobert was actually an offensive force. Not that he was dropping 25, but he was killing them on the boards. He was drawing fouls. And how long have I been stressing it? I've been calling him Dumb Levy. He's making all these trades. He trades for Chris Paul, a guard. He trades for Jimmy Butler, a guard. And what's their biggest weakness?
Big
size.
Yep.
That small ball game is done. If you don't have Klay Thompson splashing threes, Steph Curry splashing threes, they don't have the strong bench like they used to. That small ball game's not going to work. Podziemski's hit or miss. He might hit 5 threes one game and go 0 for 7 the next game.
Hell, yeah.
Gary Payton Jr. or the third, whatever he is, he's the same way. He might hit a couple.
I've heard this dude a while now since his time. He really came up in the championship.
Yeah, he might hit a couple one night and go 1 for 7 the next night. And then here's what I really don't get. We got to put an end to that playoff Jimmy. There's no more playoff Jimmy. That was a myth, a fallacy, whatever you want to call
bubble Jimmy.
it was. There is no playoff Jimmy. He took 9 shots last night. All Warriors fans have been asking for is one game. Just get us one game. Steph will be back in game 6. He couldn't do it. And based off of what his numbers, I can't say he even tried. And the reason I say that, people are gonna come at me. Well, he's dishing off. He's making the right decisions. He's passing to Draymond fucking Green in the corner who can't fucking shoot, who's open because they know he can't shoot. Don't drive it like I'm gonna kick it to you, Draymond. Be ready. That's your plan. I'm gonna drive and kick to Draymond. Come on, man. A 6th grader knows better than that.
And that's the way I was looking at Julius Randle for a little while when it came out of 3-point shooting. But his threes have been dropping. He's been balling. So there aren't any more arguments about what he can do playoff time or even in the regular season, because he's really making it work right now for the Timberwolves. Now, we were talking about just, Jimmy, not Jimmy Butler, but Steph Curry being out and other players being injured at the time and teams getting by because of probably injured players. Now the Knicks trying to deal with the Celtics with Jason Tatum out for the rest of the season with an Achilles. It goes back to what? That New Jersey, that Brooklyn Nets team that had the big three that didn't play for more than 25 games, throughout the entire season. And the reason why the Bucks ends up beating them, because when they did play together, when they were healthy for that little bit of time, they got an absolute blowout of a win. But then they went back to not playing together anymore. And then the Bucks get their championship because of it. And I think that's the things that happened during a playoff run. Even if it was a shorter season that year that the Milwaukee Bucks won, it still is a grind once you get past those 82 games. That includes the playoff games. And that's what's going on right now. Anthony Edwards, they put in these other players up saying he's beating these players or he's beating the teams that these players happen to be a part of. But he's getting it step by step and trying to get to that point. But I think it all comes to an end when they finally do meet Oklahoma City, after Oklahoma City takes care of Denver, because Denver's still the old guard. Still some pride left. Doesn't look likely, but let's see.
Right. And game 6 is in Denver. It's not like Denver can't be beat on their court, and OKC already beat them once.
Yep.
But it's not going to be an easy task. But you mentioned the injuries. To me, it's strange. Like, I want somebody to do some investigation, write an in-depth report on load management, because you think they load manage to be healthy in the playoffs, and then all these guys are getting leg injuries. Tatum went down with an Achilles. Damian Lillard went down with an Achilles. Steph went out with the hamstring. What's the point of load managing if you're still going to get hurt? Is there a correlation to not pushing your body, and then when you try to push it in the playoffs, it's not ready? You can't do it. I think about baseball pitchers. Back in the day, dudes used to go 9 innings, 150 pitches, 160 pitches.
Easy, complete game.
Nolan Ryan was 45 years old throwing 100-some pitches.
El Duque was probably 100 years old doing the same.
And now
birth certificate.
Now every pitcher has a pinch count. Oh, he's up to 75. We got to watch him.
Crazy. That's crazy.
And there's more arm injuries now than there were back then.
Ever.
So it's almost, I think babying and coddling these players it's more to their detriment, because look at all the injuries that are going on. They talk about players are better, stronger, faster, more skilled, this and that. They're not more healthier.
No, they're not healthier, but those tendons, I think those tendon injuries, the injuries that you really can't do a lot about, like a ruptured Achilles, you can stretch your Achilles, you can do whatever, you can have the explosiveness. But I think you may have a point there, because if you're out there constantly kind of pushing your Achilles, but not overdoing it, but then now you're stopping because of load management, now you got to restart, and it might be cold even when you stretch it out. And when you do exert yourself now at playoff basketball later on in the season, when your body's feeling the wear and tear, the likelihood of something like that happening seems a little bit higher now, except for consistently go. But then you have somebody like Kobe, who consistently played all the time, didn't have load management, blows his Achilles. But I think it was more with age with him.
Yeah, he was 35, 36 at that time.
Because injuries from Achilles would likely be around 35 years old. I read that years ago when Vinny Testaverde blew out his Achilles. They were talking about that ripe age for Achilles injuries are likely around 35 years old, 34 years old, around that area. And it seems like once you get around it, that's what happened. But we're talking about young players. Jason Tatum's a young player with this happening.
Right. Yeah, it just seems weird. Most of the games during the regular season were almost unwatchable. You tune in and players aren't playing hard. They're not giving the 100%. Defense is lackadaisical. And then they try and turn it on in the playoffs and go 100%. And maybe their body's just not used to it and they can't handle it. I don't know. It's just, like I said, I would love somebody to do research and write a report on that.
On again, off again, going fast, slowing down, stop. It's like stop and go traffic. You do that. It's the highway miles are compared to the city miles. Stop and go, tear up your transmission. Stay in the highway, your car lasts for almost ever, depending on what kind of car it is. But that's true.
Depending on what highway you're in, too, because Dallas, Chicago, I'm sure New York. Yeah, I've been in New York traffic, too. Yeah.
Well, as far as alignments go, I've been in Jamaica. Those
open roads.
Nice roll. Well, depending on the weather as well, because after the winter time, the roads get cracked up. I'm sure in Chicago's a lot of the same, even more so. Those cracked up roads because of that cold weather they have up there. You get that ice in those ground and it starts expanding and cracks the freaking roads.
There's a saying like, why do vehicles have to be roadworthy, but roads don't have to be vehicle worthy?
Chicken or the egg, right? But anyway, since we were talking about Jason Tatum, why not just talk about this freaking Knicks game? Going into this game, I already knew that the Knicks weren't the more talented team. They just, I think, could be the grittier team. But that wasn't even the case.
Who was that dude blocking all the shots yesterday? I can't even remember his name.
Whatever his name was. Man, Kemet, whatever, blocking all the damn shots. And, man, but come on. In the third quarter, 18 fouls for the Knicks. 18 in the third quarters alone? Come on, man. You're talking about home cooking. You're talking about Boston trying to keep these boys playing.
And Brunson fouled out with like 8 minutes in the third, right?
Yeah, around that. Yeah, exactly. So you're talking 18. I don't even keep on fouls like that. But in one quarter, when you know what's on the line and you know that the Knicks had the ability to come back from 20 down, they proved it before, and then you get 18 called fouls on the road, they're coming back to the Garden. So there's going to have to be some atonement for what happened. And I'm not even talking about the refs. I'm just talking about the way the Knicks played and the way they can play and the tenacity. But, yo,
do you think they took them lightly because Tatum was out?
Oh, you know what? Initially, it sounded like taking them lightly. Who the hell takes the Celtics lightly? Tatum being out. You know what? I had somebody on Facebook who was talking about, you better get your money right, man, because before the odds makers, put the Tatum factor in there, you better hurry up and jump on those Knicks. Bad advice. I guess Vegas was feeling a little lackadaisical about it. People who were betting were a little bit lackadaisical about what the Knicks were able to do, or what the Celtics would have been able to do with the Knicks without Tatum, and they proved what they were able to do. This is the championship team we're talking about, the defending championship team. Not only that, the organization, called for what it is, one of the greatest organizations in sports, so those guys still know how to get it together, being at home and etc. Even aside from the referees making those ridiculous calls, I think they still beat the Knicks that day. But they have to come back to the Garden, where they've already proven they could win there too. But now this pressure's really on, and without Jason Tatum. And how often are you going to expect what's his name? What was it? White to score as much as he did in one freaking game? I mean, come on now.
Yeah, I'm surprised Scott's not in here talking this junk.
Yeah, right. Coming here because he knows it's lingering. He knows tomorrow could be the end of it.
But that game turned so quickly. It was a 2-point game. It was tied.
At halftime,
a couple of lead changes here and there. Then all of a sudden, bam! It was 12. Then it was 18. It was 12. I was like, damn, what happened? And Brunson was fouled out. I was like, they ain't coming back without Brunson.
And that's true. They barely winning with him. I mean, they're coming back, but they're barely winning with his ass. There's nothing comfortable about what the Knicks are doing with these damn Celtics when they do get the win. They're down all game long. Typically, their biggest lead is 3 or 5 points, but that's when it matters at the end of the freaking game. And that's always good when you're able to do that. And if you're able to come back from either 20 points or any points, but the biggest lead you had throughout the game is 3 to 5 points, shit, you're better off for it. I mean, you're better off for it if you're the winner at the end of the game. It doesn't matter what the hell everything else happened during the course of the game. Unfortunately, the Knicks just couldn't do a damn thing on the road when they had every right to do it. And for this would have been a better special to think that they go in and pick what was it? The Knicks were favored in this game. I think it was 2.5-point favorite in this game on the road because that's how big it would have been. Because if Tatum was there, it would have been an 8.5-point line for the Celtics.
Right. Yeah. If I'm a Knicks fan, I would be very disappointed in that effort last night, and I'd be very concerned going forward because the Celtics looked like they were in rhythm last night. And if they play like that in Game 6, I don't know if the Knicks will be able to beat them. And then
what I'm not counting
7.
on, look, you're tied at halftime. Then you come out in the third quarter, and as I mentioned, the 18 fouls called in the third quarter alone, that it just coincidentally, or it's a result of these fouls being called, the Celtics win the third quarter 32-17, almost doubled them up. Come on, there's something to it. I'm not expecting those kinds of penalties or those types of fouls to be called tomorrow in Madison Square Garden. Half of those fouls get called coming out of halftime when everybody's kind of feeling good. I think the Knicks still felt pretty good about it. They felt a little, still felt pretty decent about it because, they're on the road and Tatum's not there. I think they're feeling a little bit high and mighty. They figured they could get it out, kind of pull away like typical NBA teams do in the second half, especially the last 4 minutes of a quarter.
We got fake Bill Haney here again.
William Haney, bro.
Nah, but at my old job, I used to bring in tamales on Saturdays for the Saturday crew.
Oh, man. On Saturday? Bringing tamales?
Yeah, because I used to work. It was rare that I'd work a Saturday, but when I did, I wouldn't have to be there till 8, so I'd stop on the way there. The Saturday crew, they started usually around 3, so I'd come in with some tamales, and they'd be like, "Man, this is right on time. This is fire. Like, we need you to work Saturdays more often." And so every Saturday,
just to get fed. Come on.
Whenever I worked a Saturday, I always brought them in. They still talk about it.
He said we gotta be from the East Coast. Look at his head.
Gotta be from the East Coast. The Midwest.
From the Midwest. I'm from the East Coast. And that East Coast, West Coast nonsense, whatever. It doesn't even exist anymore. Come on.
Anyway, man, he distracted us. Let's get back.
I know, right? But the Knicks, as I was saying, the Knicks coming out of halftime tied up and getting outscored 32-17 by way of those fouls. Don't expect it at Madison Square Garden. The place is lit, but you know what? That place was lit as well last Saturday, and the Celtics were able to win the game. And they're still the better team without Tatum. Even with the fouls being called, I still don't think that even with the fouls being called, the Knicks still should have had a chance, still should have won the game, and not comfortably, but still should have won the game. That's all that would have mattered. About 1 point or more, they still should have won the game. That should give the Celtics even more confidence going back to the Garden where they already have won. And now Derek White scoring, 30-something points, 34 points yesterday. You don't expect that from him, but you know what? That's what happens. Scott talked about him being a gritty player. He is a gritty player. And on any given night, as I've said before about NBA players, out of all those players on the roster, at any given night, a player can go give those points. They'll put up those kinds of points, 30 points, 24, 40 points. Dante DiVincenzo scored 35 points in the game and more points in the game. You don't expect him to do it, but when given the opportunity, he can do it. It's just that everyone has their role in the NBA. You're talking about time management, everything. If you're getting a half a minute, they know it. It's written down. It's on a stat sheet. Everything's accounted for in the NBA. But if they say this night here, you can go out and try to get your 20, 25, 30, the last dude on the bench can do it.
And that's another reason I'd be disappointed if I'm a Knicks fan. I can understand Derek White getting loose because you got to pay attention to Tatum and Brown and Porzingis. Tatum's not there, so that's one less guy you really have to give a lot of focus to. How do you let him loose for 30-some points? Hey, okay, after the first 18 or 20, let's guard him. No, just let him keep smoking you. That made no sense to me.
And Porzingis played 12 minutes and had one freaking point. What the hell? He wasn't even a factor.
Do you have to give him any attention?
Exactly. You don't have to give him any attention. This dude, I don't know what his mysterious illness is. It still there? Is he still recovering? These things don't disappear just because he's out there playing. Some of these dudes suck it up and still try to play, but find out they can't continue to go through with it. I think that might be the case here, putting up 12 minutes in a game that really was consequential or had the potential to be consequential. And, and he puts up what he can. 1 point. What?
I know you don't want to contemplate this, but if Boston comes back to win the series without Tatum, what does that say about Tatum?
You know what? I didn't think that you put a twist on that. I thought you were going to ask something completely different.
Do Celtics fans say, they would have came back with Tatum anyway? Or because they were down 3-1 with Tatum, man. That's all I know. And then without him,
they win it.
They beat 3-0.
And with that scenario, I can't even look at it and say that because Tatum's out, they play more team basketball, more players get involved, and that's the reason why they're going to win. You just happen to have a player who stepped up in that game. Derek White was the player that you probably least expected to put up those kinds of points. The grit, maybe 15, 20 points max, 34, never would have expected it from him. And that's what happens. It's like when the Knicks win games, and sometimes you have Josh Hart who puts up numbers that you don't expect him to get. Anytime you can get that kind of a point from those types of players, like we used to talk about Gobert a little earlier, if he's putting up points, that's a bonus because you don't expect him to really be a defensive stalwart.
Right. And it's demoralizing to the other team. Like,
absolutely. They expected it.
You get a stop, but they get the offensive rebound and Gobert dunks it on you. Like, Gobert's killing us.
Gobert's putting in work and doing it to you. So, yeah, it's just, I don't know, man. So, now the Knicks are going to try to do what the other teams have done. Minnesota has done it. Indiana has done it. Now it's up to the Knicks to try to close it out. I believe it or not, I wasn't too I was optimistic because Tatum was out, I guess like everyone else, and the numbers proved it in terms of the odds. But I'm legitimately optimistic because it is MSG, even though the Celtics have already proven they can win in Madison Square Garden. They did win in Madison Square Garden with Jason Tatum going crazy from 3 points. I don't think they get that this time around.
You guys need another ridiculous statement from Paul Pierce so he can walk 15 miles to work the next day.
Paul Pierce. I have a friend of mine who's from Chicago, and you call him Paul Pierce after the incident at the club where he got poked a bit. They call him Paul Pierce. Yeah, Paul Pierce, what's his deal? And you get a couple of these retired great players that just can't leave it alone and starts talking nonsense about players that exist, that play now. They just can't get off of them. I don't know what the deal is with certain players. Paul Pierce is one of those players that just can't stop talking about today's players.
Well, it's his job to talk about
No, I
sports.
mean, but it's never. It's always pejorative though. It's not like he doesn't give credit to anybody. At least KG gives you credit if you deserve it. He roasts you if you don't deserve it.
KG?
KG,
Oh,
yeah,
oh yeah, on his podcast. I thought you
yeah.
meant like on TV. Paul
No,
Pierce
no.
is not. He's on Fox Sports.
Yeah, and Kevin Garnett stands on what he says. If you ask him another time when he's not on his podcast, he's going to repeat the same damn thing. He's
Yeah.
not running from what he says.
Oh yeah,
Like, even when he talks
KG's
about
a real one.
LeBron, he comes. And LeBron still ain't questioning him.
Yeah, KG's a real one.
For real.
But so what do you think was wrong with Jalen Brunson? He's got to play better in Game 6. Much better.
Is it still Holiday, man? Drew Holiday still on his ass? You know, we talking
He
about
was
Drew
on him
being the
some,
factor.
but he was on him some, but Jalen Brown was on him too.
Yeah. But he's the one who has to do the scoring. He has to be Jalen Brunson. He can't let anybody change him from what he is. Still the leader of that team, no question about it. It's just that this is where it matters most. We know how it goes in New York. Not necessarily fair weather fans. These are hardcore fans. They believe they're entitled to win a championship, even though it's been since the 70s. They still believe every year they're entitled. You can have one of the worst teams in the NBA. They'll believe that they're entitled to get to the playoffs and do something. What's going on here? Let me see.
He said something about a bunion.
A bunion? You don't want to get the surgery.
Good luck with that. Does it look like oh man,
I'm gonna get you, sucker.
Yeah, why am I Brown?
Jim Brown, right?
Yeah, the throbbing like Jim Brown.
Throbbing my bunions, man. I'm gonna get you, sucker. Yo, bro, that's that old school deal right there. But man, I'm just glad that basketball's at least like it is right now. People are anticipating. And by the way, you know, we got to talk a little bit about this draft coming up. We now know that they're claiming it's rigged because Dallas is getting.
Hold on. Before we get to that, I just let's make our predictions because I said what I thought the Knicks needed to do, and I said Brunson needs to go off in Game 5, and he did go off. He scored 39. Obviously, didn't back that up. So Game 6, they gotta win it. They gotta win it at MSG. They can't go back to Boston. So I'm looking for big games out of Brunson. Cat, he's got to contribute maybe 20 and 15, 25 and 18. Yeah, Hart, like, but if Brunson gets going, that makes it easy for everybody else. If Brunson's struggling, now the pressure falls on everybody else. But I think I think the Knicks will close it out in the Garden, and I think OKC pulls out Game 6. Unless Denver absolutely blasts them, which I don't see it happening. OKC's been pulling games out at the end, so I don't care if they play in Oklahoma City, if they play in Denver, if they play on the moon. It ain't gonna matter if the game's down, if the game is close down the stretch. I'm taking OKC.
OKC has the energy to do it, and they have the talent and the energy to be able to do it. I think this isn't the same Denver team, and I know people think it's the same Denver team because, you know, you look at Jokic, even when he's not winning championships or a championship, he's still getting MVPs, and then he's still putting up MVP kind of numbers, kind of mellowed down a little for his standards during the playoffs, but he still has command over the games that they do win. Now, I don't think that's going to happen this time around. I'm on the bandwagon of Oklahoma City, you know, getting them out of there. As far as the Knicks goes, let's throw some Mitchell Robinson in there, finally getting free throws to fall for a change without having to throw it between his legs. Maybe he just needs to be a defensive stalwart. Just go against the balls, crash the boards, try not to get freaking fouled. You know what I mean? And that's good enough.
Right, that's disappointing too. He was getting fouled and making his free throws, and they still got blasted.
That's what I'm saying. Now taking advantage of those free throws that he's making.
That should have been some inspiration for other guys. Hey, he's making his free throws. Come on, man. Let's go win this game.
I don't know what the hell happened. Yeah, I can talk about the refs until you're blue in the face, 18 fouls in the third quarter and all that nonsense, man. But come on, man. And it was tied at halftime, so it can lead you to believe, that may be an issue. But come on. All the excuses are out the window, man, when you're trying to get a championship or trying to head to a damn championship at least. And the Knicks have every opportunity to do it, and they will be facing the Indiana Pacers if they get there. And I like that matchup better than I like the matchup we're going through right now. I mean, who the hell wouldn't? Because at least I don't have to say every time that Indiana has a better team than the Knicks. No, I think the Knicks have a better team than Indiana when they go into the playoffs, or at least on paper. But here, unquestionably, the Celtics have the better team, and that's why they're able to win even without Jason Tatum and blow out the freaking Knicks.
You still feel that way without JT?
Oh, right now with the Knicks,
You still think Celtics are a better team without JT?
well, no, a better team against the Knicks because of the matchup, I guess. Because the numbers,
Okay.
I mean, the numbers are showing that's exactly what's going on. Every game they've played, it seems like they had a
It's a small
20-point lead at some
sample.
freaking point.
It's a small sample, though.
Yeah, it is a small sample, but it's the most intense sample you're gonna get. It may not be the sample you're gonna
They
get
just
in
got to
one.
win one. They just got
That's
to
it. Just
win
win
one.
one. And if they lose tonight, well, the Celtics just have to win 1-2. That sucks ass because it shouldn't be that way. They should have been out of there, especially this previous game when they had their best opportunity, I believe, without Jason Tatum being there. Take advantage of it, which they didn't do. But either way.
So on to the draft.
Yeah.
Or your question was, is it rigged?
No, I don't think it's – people have been saying this. Everything is rigged in sports. When things go your way, it's not rigged. You're good. When things don't go your way, it's rigged, and you're still good. That's the reason why it's rigged.
Just one thing to ponder. The team with the worst record hasn't won the lottery, I think, in like over 5 years. And they have the best odds to win the lottery.
Well, 3 teams
have more
now
ping
have
pong balls than everybody else. And then when you consider Dallas had a 1.8% opportunity to get the number 1 pick and got it, that's like somebody winning the lotto. Like, you ain't winning the lotto. But
I mean, the Knicks won it in '85 with Patrick Ewing, and they claimed that was rigged when they shouldn't have gotten him, but they got him. And
there was a bend on the envelope.
Yeah. They looked at that joint like you got an iron or a steamer, just opened it up and kind of sealed it back. But until they do something like that in the open, so people could watch, you're always going to have those stories of it being rigged. But of course, in today's culture and society, they're going to still tell you, don't believe your lying eyes. They still did something else. They got a magnet in the ball. They got one ball lighter than the other. That's the reason why. They'll tell you everything because those are the same stories they come up with the real lottery, claiming the balls have different weights when they all supposedly have the same weight. And what they go through to get those weights. To make it
I don't think the NBA helps themselves, having it behind closed doors and secret.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I know. If it was on live TV, people would be more inclined to believe it. And then, you have people come out and say, well, I was in there and I knew an hour before it was announced, who had the number 1 pick, but I couldn't say anything. People are going to say, well, of course they're going to put somebody out there to say that. They don't help themselves. It used to be public before. I don't know why it's not public now.
Well, it was public before. When the lottery became, they added the lottery in '85, that's when it wasn't public anymore.
No, they used to do the envelopes in the big machine. The thing.
That machine.
And then they did the ping pong balls too for a while.
Okay.
And now they just do it behind closed doors.
Yeah, and tell us, well, we had someone watch.
I don't know,
watch us do it. An official
tell us. They can tell us how they do it, but how do we know? Like, are they all just drawing straws? Are they picking cards? We don't know.
They just telling us any damn thing.
Right.
So, but anyway, so Dallas gets it, and it seems like because Cooper Flag seems to be the unanimous number 1 overall pick, it's like Luka left. Let's bring in this other phenom who happens to be an American to go to Dallas. This is kind of the trade-off that people are thinking that what's happened because of the rigged nature of what's going on in the NBA.
But they fancy themselves as championship contenders next year. Is Flag going to help them get there? You're going to bring in the rookie and be like, all right, rookie, we're going to need you to step up big time this year.
Well, they could build the same way they built around Luka. Bring in players if players want to come in. They have cap space now because they don't have
No. Their GM said if Kyrie didn't get hurt, we expect to be championship contenders. Yeah, there's no build. No, you don't get to build.
They can say one thing.
I don't care. You said it. If I'm a Mavs fan, okay, you got the number 1 pick. What are you gonna do now? Because I fully expect to be a championship contender next year. I don't want to be in the playing game. I don't want to get bounced in the first round. I want to be a contender. That's why they traded Luka. That's his claim. I traded Luka, and we had a championship roster, but they got hurt. Okay, well now you got the number one pick to add to that championship roster. No excuses.
Yeah, well, we saw their roster once Luka did leave, and it wasn't a championship roster. I mean, they did get hurt, but
I'm not saying I believe it. I'm just telling you what he said.
Exactly. And I think they're just saying things anyway. This is what they do. This is the damage control after Luka left. After when he came, they wanted him to be the next Dirk. Dirk recruited him pretty much. Well, not recruited him, but really stood by his side, and it showed that parallel between he and Luka being the 2 Euros that's going to be the linchpins of this organization. The only one with the championship was Dirk, and they thought Luka would bring the next one. Now Luka's in LA, bringing Cooper Flag as a talent, and of course he's going to have his growing pains. But I think he goes into this season looking at Rookie of the Year honors being a real possibility.
He wants to know why you're laughing at him.
Well, Cuban and Brazilian, man, come on.
Anyway, what about Pete Rose, Shoeless Joe Jackson?
Man, I hear some people that are baseball purists. Now listen to the baseball purists. I go to certain groups where I know they're real baseball purists. There's a particular group I'm in where these guys know, I've been in for a while. These dudes know their freaking baseball. There's no question about it. A lot of those guys are upset. Some of those guys are like, you know what? It wasn't lifetime ban. These guys have been dead, so they're no longer living. So it's only fair to now put them up. I'm almost torn between it because, man, I know what Pete did, and that's just what you just can't do that. But I still want Pete in there. But now,
so
Barry Bonds, does he get a chance to go in there? Does Roger Clemens get a chance? Even I don't want him.
Difference is Bonds was never banned. Roger Clemens was never banned.
This is just a bunch of pissed off writers that aren't going to vote for him because of high horse. And when those old guys die out and they see the numbers for what they are, the dude was already a Hall of Famer before the juice. I don't know what they're on, but I guess the integrity of the game was at stake. So the steroids.
Let me ask you this, because I think it's two different situations regarding Joe Jackson and Pete Rose. Yes, they were both banned, but back in 1919, there was no rule. And it's been reported the White Sox weren't the first team to throw a World Series.
Okay.
They're just the most well-known, and they got banned for it. Okay? I'm not saying no, it wasn't the whole team. It was 8 players.
8 players?
Yeah. And I'm not saying it was okay. I'm not saying I condone them throwing the World Series. I'm just saying there wasn't a rule. Pete Rose walked into stadium locker rooms where there's a sign saying absolutely no betting on baseball, and he still bet on baseball. To me, it's 2 different infractions.
2 different infractions, but a lifelong ban for both.
Right.
And they're both dead,
but
so life is over.
If you're considering either one or both for the Hall of Fame, I'm saying it's 2. Yes, they were both banned, but one did something when it wasn't a rule. The other one knowingly did it
while there was a rule. Man, man, there's so much baseball involved with Pete Rose. What he had done for baseball, he did break the rule outside of baseball, on baseball. But what he had done as far as just being Charlie Hustle, that's enough to be in the Hall of Fame. That's what they should look at. And he did break their rule guide. So that means that, are you going to allow someone else to break the rule? And if they do, are you going to let them in if they're a Hall of Famer or potential Hall of Famer? I don't freaking know.
Are you going to say, well, you have to die first and then we'll take you off?
Die first and then they'll talk about it. So either suicide or otherwise.
People who defend him say, well, he didn't bet against his team. Well, did he bet on the Reds every game? Because if he didn't, well, then a non-bet for his team is letting everybody else know, don't bet on the Reds today.
And that's what it comes. It becomes that. If you're betting normally, and then you all of a sudden you have this little turn of events, it becomes that. People. He's not betting on the Reds today. I think the Reds going to probably
6 games in a row. Oh, he's not going to bet today. All right, we'll take the other.
And that's all speculative, though. But that's what you dig your hole. You dig a hole to do that. or give people the ability to assume that's what's going down when you allow that to happen. If it's me, Pete's in. No question. I've been saying it before they allowed him to come back in. I was hoping they'll find a way to put him in. Shooters Joe, I never really thought about him too much getting in and not getting in. Pete Rose, more my speed. I hope that he gets in. And I know baseball, and I respect the hell out of baseball purists. People who know the game and love the game. They genuinely love the game. I respect the hell out of how they feel about him getting in or not getting in. And it seems like, man, it's not split down the middle, but it's pretty damn close between, from what I've seen, people who would like to see him in there and people who stand on what you're saying. He bet on baseball. There's no way he should be in. Baseball folded on him. Manfred needs to get out of here. That's what they were talking about. They were like, get rid of him. He's terrible.
Yeah, so I don't know. It'll be interesting. Supposedly, they're not going to be able to vote on it until 2027, a special committee. So it's going to be a couple of years anyway.
And so now these other guys that aren't suspended, it's just that sports writers are taking it upon themselves not to vote him in, like Roger Clemens, like Barry Bonds.
But it's going to be a special committee. They're not going to be with the regular vote. It's not going to be sports writers.
Now, what do you think? It seems like people have spoken about it before. What do you think about having a separate wing in the Hall of Fame for the Juicers? So now we could get Manny Ramirez in there too. Get him in there. Big Poppy's in it. Come on, man.
I don't know. I'd have to give it some thought. Like
Brady Anderson would make it in there. Brady freaking Anderson might make it in there.
He didn't do it long enough.
He didn't do it long enough. But man, I tell you what, I can't wait to see did Todd Helton get in yet? Not yet, right?
I don't think so.
He definitely needs to go in. Obviously, the best player they've ever played with the Colorado Rockies. And by the way, Colorado's awful this year. Oh my God, did they have like 20 runs scored on them last week?
They might break
the manager. They had 7 freaking wins. He's out of there.
They might break the White Sox record from last year.
Bro, they're awful. Man, I'm wondering what the hell would be the reason why the fans show up to Coors Field. I mean, to get a souvenir because the balls are coming out of there. Just not even coming from your team. They came and score those runs in Coors Field. The over under is for the road team. It's not even for them.
Yeah, like I said, they're really bad, and they're gonna make a run at the White Sox record for all time losing from last year.
Yeah, hey, if they're gonna do it the following season, that at least take some of the misery off the White Sox fans. You didn't have to hold the record for too damn long with them playing like that. But right. They're not turning it around, man. There's nothing there in Coors Field, nothing there in Colorado for them to build on. Not right now, and it seems like it's always been that way. Why did you build a baseball team out there anyway? Bring a baseball team there anyway with that kind of.
I don't know, but on to better, more positive things. The NFL schedules drop.
I was about to say that a little bit. Yeah, the schedule drop. I haven't looked at it, but I've heard some of the games. The Chiefs are playing Dallas on Thanksgiving, and then what? Aren't the Chiefs going to Brazil? What? Brazil? First game of the season?
I'm not sure. I didn't see that.
Was that the Chiefs or somebody else?
The Eagles and Cowboys are kicking the season off on Thursday night.
That's solid. Get to see what's going on with
Yeah, it's weird because
has some help now.
They have divisional games early this year. The Bears start off with the Vikings and the Lions.
The Vikings and Lions this early?
Week 1 and week 2.
Damn, that's craziness. Speaking of the Bears, man, what about that book that they're writing? ESPN, somebody from ESPN writing that book about Caleb Williams, about how his father didn't want him going to the Bears, or how Caleb Williams didn't want to go to the Bears. And
we already knew that.
Yeah, but he wanted to go to Minnesota. Now the book says that he wanted to go to Minnesota after he'd been to the facility. But when he came to the Bears and saw the facility and the way he was treated, because they was talking about Shane Waldron, he didn't want to play for him. And then when he went to the facility, then he kind of fell in love with them. He's like, you know what? I'm not going to nuke them. This is what I guess is in the book. He said, I'm not going to go nuclear in Chicago now, because I guess they were just waiting for him to just do it because he was trying to say everything to get himself out of it. But your GM was like, no matter what, we still draft him. He can say what he wants. He even went as far as to speak to Archie Manning about Eli Manning getting out of playing for the Chargers and going to the Giants. I was at that draft, and I remember how the people just was cursing at Eli when he pulled that power move. And I hated that it happened, but you know what? He ended up having a good story with the Giants. But man, you know what? Let the thing go the way it would. But he wasn't the first one because John Elway practically did the same thing. Didn't want to play for the Baltimore Colts at the time. And he was talking about playing for the Yankees instead if they took him.
So who's writing the book? Matt
I,
Eberflus?
oh no, nobody on the team. It's an ESPN writer.
I'm just
The book is
saying.
coming out. The book is out or it's coming out.
I don't
But
even find it that interesting. Like I have no interest in
well,
reading it.
his father
Like,
saying,
we knew going into the draft they didn't want to go to the Bears, but since he got drafted by the Bears, he's been all in. So it's a non-story to me.
But even before that, though, it came to a point to where he said it took a personal visit. You know, his father didn't want him to go. It seemed like it was more his
We
father's
knew
idea.
that. We knew that months before the draft. We
Yeah,
knew
but
he
it
didn't
was
want
his
to go to
father's idea.
Chicago.
I always thought it was his idea. Because remember, he had no agent, so anything that came out was going to be by him. And it seems like it was his father that was pushing his narrative. Whoever put a microphone to him in private or public, he was the one kind of pushing it out there. And for people outside of your market, like me, I'm thinking, damn, Caleb's going in on the Bears like that. They might not even take him. But then when they made it clear that they were taking him regardless of what he was saying, I'm like, but damn, that's going to, get somebody who doesn't want to be there. But then he said once he made the visit to the Bears and talked to the execs, and he realized, you know what, this is not as bad a place after all. I could probably do something here. But we'll have to see the
Well,
book.
that's what I'm saying. It's a non-story to me.
Well, somebody trying to get some money off of it, and it's going to be pretty intriguing.
You think Jaden Daniels wanted to go to Washington after the horseshit year they had?
As far as what, I think I can see why he would want to go because at least they came with some banter of being new. Magic Johnson's a minority owner.
But I'm just saying,
being out of there.
You sit Jaden Daniels down. What team would you like to go to?
Oh,
he's not saying the Washington Redskins.
Nah, shit. I think you get a couple.
He's not
couple
saying
of
the
these
Commanders
players.
neither.
They're telling you a bunch of teams that they'll tell you their favorite team if anything else, or the team that has the best chance.
Okay, so
they'll probably go to Kansas City. Well, Patrick Mahomes, let me come there. They'll go somewhere where they think they have the best chance of winning a championship. But man, I mean, all this time, because even when you and I were talking about it, I'm thinking he's doing his own mouthpiecing because he didn't have an agent, so it's not coming from nowhere. And I thought it just had to be him, but it's his freaking father doing this. I mean, how could these vicarious fathers? I've always talked about these vicarious fathers. Now want to make themselves the news. Look at Haliburton's father. Before that, John Morant's father. All these fathers who that at least in their sons' lives want to be the story and not just allow their kid to play. Now I can see looking out for his son, but come on, man, stay in your freaking lane. This business of football or even sports and being on that agent side, that's a difficult damn business. And you can't shuck and jive your way through it and do what's best for your son or or whoever you're trying to represent outside of being the professional representative. I've seen agents before, and there's more to it than just the glamour that people see agents doing. There's a lot that goes into it, especially the damn money when you have to get that line of credit, a serious line of credit. That's why everybody can't be a freaking agent.
The only thing I'll say is that maybe Caleb was telling his dad what to say or what he wanted him to put out there.
You know what? That could be a possibility. But the way things are now, looks like, and the way the Bears have done everything for this guy to be successful, man. I mean, and they continue to do everything. This is not a static deal to where it's just one season. They continue to try to build around him, do things for him, and put him in a spot to do some success, to be successful at it. And I think he has ability. As you saw a lot more of him than I did, and you were more intimate watching him than I was. And you can see, watching the film study and sessions with Chase Daniel and all those kinds of things, man. So you was on top of it, so you could see the improvement from week to week.
Now, something I did hear that's very disappointing is nobody sat down to watch film with him. Nobody sat down and say, okay, this is what you should be looking for. And I'm pretty sure he'll get that now.
Pre-draft?
What?
Pre-draft or during the season?
No, during last season.
Hell, bro. When they didn't have any fucking friends on the coaching staff?
Yeah, like, here's the tape. Go home and watch it, pretty much. Or go in the film room, hit play. And I'll see you later. He got the kid, rookie quarterback, franchise quarterback, didn't get no support. I mean, that's typical Bears crap.
Man, that's crap right there because a lot of times you hear about the quarterback's coach or even the offensive coordinator not giving the film to the player and telling him to go study. They watch it together and
Right.
break it down.
And it goes back to them retaining Eberflus and his staff. Well, they brought in Shane Waldron, but if they bring in the new regime, they don't hire Shane Waldron. I mean, look, Ben Johnson, he brought in somebody that's done it before and knows what they're doing, somebody that he really trusts. And I know Caleb will not be watching film by himself.
No, absolutely not.
When you got the head coach running the defense, does he even have time to sit down and watch film with the quarterback? I mean, of course, it should be the OC anyway, but, you know, it was just a bad setup. There's no way Eberflus should have been kept.
The only coach I've seen do something like that was Bill Belichick being a defensive coach. And not that he was watching film with Tom Brady, but having his offensive coordinators deal with Tom Brady until Tom Brady pretty much was teaching the offensive coordinators later on. And it worked, being a defensive head coach and having success on defense and then having an offensive stalwart. You know, Tom Brady has never been absolutely spectacular numbers-wise with his play. He just been damn efficient and damn good when he needed to be good. And that's why he kept winning over and over and over. You know,
he was good at getting to the 30 and letting Adam Vinatieri win it at the end.
You know what? And that's, you got to get to the 30 though, because Adam Vinatieri isn't kicking 70-yard field goals. You got to kick it. You got to get it close. And so, yeah, he did that.
That would be 47.
Huh?
That would be 47 from the 30.
Oh, no. I'm saying if he didn't get down that way, you know, if he didn't get down to that range of the 47-yard field goal, the 30-yard line, it would be a 47-yard field goal. But you have to get down to the 30. Because if you're getting it at the 50, shoot, you still got a 67-yard field goal. And not too many people hitting those these days, even though they're getting damn close. Hell, you got 60-yarders that are becoming a little bit more routine than they should be. But Justin Tucker isn't kicking any of those. And Derrick Henry has a new contract, a 2-year extension, $15 million a year. Hell, if I deserves it. Actually probably doing something with that running back market in terms of the money. We were just talking about last season, how they were expendable and how the market had gone down on running backs.
Yeah,
and it had in terms
most
of money.
Running backs are expendable, replaceable, however you want to describe it. But Saquon Barkley isn't. Derrick Henry isn't.
They are, exactly. But they may be setting the market now because that's just how it goes. When you get franchised, it goes by the top 5 players' salaries. So, yeah, if those guys are getting it raised because of their salaries alone, it helps bring up that average. And the kickers, was it punters or kickers that were getting, in terms of their value went up more than running backs' value went up. I'm not talking about the overall money.
I just don't think there are enough game breaker running backs to say, okay, the running backs are back. You know, how many are averaging? How many are averaging 4 yards a carry with 15 or more attempts per game?
Travis Etienne, dude's got like under 4 yards a carry, man. That's serious. I mean, 4 yards a carry. I mean, below 4 yards a carry is, and he didn't play all 17 games. You know, he was injured, but still, that's even more of a reason why he should have more yards per carry. But blame the Jaguars more so than anything else because they just weren't getting it done offensively. Trevor Lawrence just hasn't played and improved the way I thought he would longer term. It's these freaking injuries because he did look good at one point, but then not good later on. We'll see what's coming up on this season here. Now that he has an extra wide receiver.
Lawrence takes a big step up, I don't see the Jaguars doing anything. That's the Texans division now.
Yeah, it is. But you know what? Travis Hunter is going to be playing wide receiver here. They're going to have packages for him at cornerback, so he'll get a chance to do that, show his talent.
It's not like they haven't had talented wide receivers before.
But I don't think they had a absolute game breaker recently. What's his name? Oh my man, the one that they just freaking the Titans just ended up getting. Oh man,
was it Ridley?
Oh yeah, Calvin Ridley. They just had Calvin Ridley. He went for the money, and I don't blame him. You go with the biggest contract possible. The Jag wanted to give him the money he wanted, so he ended up leaving. And Calvin Ridley was a game breaker, man. He took a whole year off, came out and played the way he played. I know he became a little bit inconsistent as the season went on, but when he was hot, and he was hot a lot more than he wasn't. And it's just that Trevor Lawrence's injuries became an issue. But in terms of game-breaking wide receivers, the Jags haven't had one of those. Calvin Ridley was that guy for a while. Christian Kirk, the one they overpaid coming from Arizona, didn't even have a 1,000-yard receiving year, and they overpaid him. He's no longer with the team either. And then Gabe Davis coming from the Buffalo Bills at tight end, awful, absolutely awful. They got rid of him, and they with him. So, man, just a lot of stuff going on.
So is that it? Wrap it up?
Yeah, we can wrap it up, man. Oh, well, anything about this draft coming up? Dylan Harper. I guess that's the other big name in this draft from Rutgers. Rutgers didn't even go to the dance. They had the best recruiting class they've ever had.
Is that the guy who got benched?
Huh?
Is that the guy who got benched?
Who, Dylan Harper?
Yeah. In the tournament.
He didn't get to the tournament.
Oh, he was hurt?
Rutgers didn't go to the tournament.
Oh, I'm thinking St. John. Rutgers, St. John,
that's that. Well, the State University of Jersey is Rutgers. And it surprises me with Rutgers having so many great basketball players, or Jersey and New York and Connecticut, that tri-state area, having such great basketball players. They had very good basketball, the best recruiting class they've ever had at Rutgers, and the dudes won 7 games in the Big Ten. Crazy. But he's the second best player in this draft coming up. Cooper Flagg, and then there's like everyone else. So there isn't even anyone in the stratosphere of what Cooper Flagg is or is expected to be. So another kind of weak draft, but we're going to get a lot of that moving forward, unless they start bringing more from the Euros, and now the Canadians proving they're the best basketball on the planet outside of the U.S. I thought it was Australia, but over and over, these Canadians are coming into the league and just dominating like hell. I mean, SGA, Canada, killing it. I mean, these Canadians are just playing some hellified basketball. But anyways, we can shut it down because, well, tonight, the game goes on tonight, right? Between OKC and Denver. Yeah, it looks like OKC should put a lid on this game. And on Monday, we'll be able to talk about how it happened. We'll also get to talk about how it happened with the Knicks. Hopefully they win the freaking game they're supposed to win. But if they don't, we'll be talking about how the hell they didn't do it again, and we'll be winning again the next year.
So anyway, are the games Friday and Sunday? We might know if the series is over by Monday.
Yeah, by Monday, yeah. We'll know if the series is over by Monday. Well, there's Friday and Sunday. It's Friday, the Knicks playing tomorrow against the Celtics.
Sunday, provided the Celtics win on Friday.
Provided, exactly. That's what I'm saying, if it goes that far.
If necessary. The old if necessary.
But anyway.
I know read them comments, man. He just started talking crazy.
Bro, I could barely see these things. My eyes is going blind these days. Too many shots to the eye. But anyway, yep. Monday will be the time we'll come back. So the Sports Bag Bros podcast is going to sign off on Thursday. We talked a lot of NBA for the past couple of shows. Let's continue again on Monday because the NBA has finally been the gift that keeps on giving in a good way. Until Monday, deuces.
Peace.